Juan Soto went deep in his first at-bat with the Mets.
Alex Bregman went 3 for 3 in his first spring training game with the Red Sox. Garrett Crochet struck out the side in the first inning.
Yeah, not too bad for our fellas.
Not too bad for our fellas. Which is a good thing.
Oh, yeah, it's a great thing.
Let's pull this up.
Let's do that.
Welcome back to the Fallbar Baseball Show. Today is Monday, February 24th. I feel like
Sure
February has been like 6 days long.
Yeah. It's been really quick.
We're kind
and
of
it's
flying.
ending in like 4 days, 5 days. Depends on the year.
4.
4?
No
4
election this year.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I thought you said it's ending in 4 days, and I was like, you're stupid. February has 31 days, just like all the other months.
Yeah.
Nope.
Nope.
I'm stupid.
I guess so.
All right. Anyway.
The Lynx are 8-1.
Yeah, the Lynx are 8-1. Win on Saturday featuring a Ryan Fallman scoreless 8th inning, which was pretty sweet. Win on Sunday. We play again this afternoon. We play again tomorrow afternoon. There's a lot to like.
Yeah, there's a lot to like.
There's a lot to like.
The challenge coming up today, and then an I don't know what coming up on Tuesday.
Yeah, shout out to Alma. Let's do some digging on Alma University.
Sure.
Liberal Arts College in Alma, Michigan. Okay.
Michigan.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at them.
Where is Alma, Michigan? Let's find out. Yeah, we play them Tuesday.
They beat U Chicago yesterday.
Oh, we play U Chicago today. Alma, Michigan is like the most central point of Michigan.
Really?
Like, it's not really close to Detroit or Ann Arbor or anything for that matter. So.
Anyways, more about the Lynx.
Yeah, go Lynx.
Zach Sahoski threw 7 innings of one-hit baseball yesterday. He had 11 strikeouts against a team that made a regional last year.
Yeah,
and won their conference.
All due respect to Spalding, is like this weekend they were coming in and everyone was saying that they were the best team like that's here with us this weekend.
They still might be.
They still might be, but he made them look very, very not good.
Yeah, exactly.
And their pitchers were really good.
Yeah.
They just had a couple of errors and the boys capitalized.
And then Ben Burkhart hit a ball 400 feet like he tends to do.
Ben Burkhart shaved his beard and hit a bomb.
Yep.
Big news.
Big time.
Next week, we're playing 5 games between this episode and next week.
We sure are.
On Monday at 9 a.m. So there's going to be a lot to go down.
Yeah.
There will be a lot to talk about. But move over D3 baseball and move in the beginning of Major League Spring Training.
Yeah.
Today's the Central Division Day, AL Central and NL Central, but I believe there were 2 or 3 teams from the Eastern Division that we wanted to kind of give a couple more minutes to.
Yeah. Those probably being the teams in the NL because we kind of cover them, but more conversationally rather than in depth.
AL East I think we're good.
I don't think we need to cover the Marlins because
they're bad.
The Marlins are just bad, unfortunately. And as of right now, I have a little bit of a win prediction document going on. I have too many wins in there right now, but the Marlins are, in my opinion, projected at sub 60, which I think
that's probably right.
I don't think that's unreasonable at all. They don't have a lot of minor league talent coming up. They're pretty much relying on Sandy Alcantara to carry their pitching. And now they don't even have a Jake Berger to throw some balls over the wall.
Yeah,
they have Otto Lopez and Xavier Edwards, who are pretty much only good in MLB The Show. And
Xavier Edwards, good bat to ball skill. That guy.
Yeah, he had a cycle. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was he had how many home runs did he have? That was his only home run.
Yeah, only career home run.
70 games, and when he hit a cycle, it was his only home run. But yeah, that's a great point. The Marlins, last year, like, they go into the season and you have Jazz, or you have Jake Berger, or you have even, like, Brian De La Cruz. It's like, those are at least solid enough hitters.
Right.
This is different.
Yeah.
There are no solid hitters.
Yeah.
This lineup could have two guys that finish with an OPS plus or WRC plus over 100, and I kind of wouldn't be that surprised.
Yeah. There's on the Fangraphs website, they have a 40-man roster breakdown of like where these guys came from in terms of like homegrown, free agent, and they have 9 players that they picked up off of waivers and 3 players that they picked up off of the Rule 5 draft.
Oh, the Rule 5 draft. Give me some. Oh, I see them.
Which
we've got Liam
is
Hicks.
Cool.
Liam Hicks is not in my book.
Nope, not in mine either. Neither is Javier Sanoa.
I don't know him either. Was that minor league Rule 5?
He is amateur free agent Venezuela. Okay. But
yeah,
basically what I'm trying to get at is if you're building a roster based off of guys who got cut from their other teams or were eligible for the Rule 5 draft.
This is a groundbreaking discovery.
That is no bueno. So, yeah, the Marlins are going to be bad. They're going to compete for the White Sox bad, honestly.
Yeah, it could be to that level. Their pitching is at least something of substance because they have Sandy coming back off injury, and then like Ryan Weathers and Edward Cabrera. They are pitchers. They're not great pitchers by any means, but they are.
They sure do pitch.
They're like
baseball.
They're like major league pitchers. Yeah. Cal Quantrill is also a major league pitcher.
Yeah. And then
but it's not enough to like.
Max Meyer has been like a top prospect for a while now. He kind of like went away for a little bit because he's dealt with some injuries, but there's been a lot of people who are high on him. But yeah, the rotation is like fine, but everything else is so bad, like so bad.
The lineup stinks.
The lineup is not going to sell tickets.
Yeah.
But
all right, thanks, Marlins.
Yep. See ya. Let's go over the Nationals real quick.
Let's move on.
We'll go from worst to best. We did cover the Phillies a lot last episode.
Yeah, we did the Phillies, Braves, and Mets pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say we did the Braves like pretty solid. But we definitely did the Mets. I mean, we do the Mets every episode, so. Anyways.
Can never do enough Mets.
So when I look at the Nationals, I get like a glimmer of hope because you got a bunch of guys who are still young, like C.J. Abrams is 24.
Yep.
And he's already spent over 2 years in the league, made an all-star this year, even though that's a little bit Mickey Mouse. But
every team needs one guy.
Yeah, exactly. He also went to high school like 10 minutes away from where I'm from, so that's pretty cool.
That's cool. He didn't do that 10 minutes away where I'm from.
No. Anyways, Dylan Cruz, we know, is a beast. He'll probably have a huge breakout season this year. He already looked pretty good at the major league level last year. Yeah. Same with James Wood.
Wood looked pretty good.
He had a lot more time. Excuse me, closer to the full to like half a season, but I mean he looked really, really good. And then they've got some decent pieces like Nathaniel Lau, Josh Bell, Luis Garcia was really solid last year. But the guys rounding out the lineup, at least of what Fangraphs has, don't really give me that much hope, and they don't have any guys like coming back from injury or something like that.
Yeah, but here's the thing that the Nationals did that, at least if you're a Nationals fan or a fan of competitive baseball, you should really be able to appreciate. Like, think about Nathaniel Lau, Josh Bell, Paul DeYoung.
Yeah.
And they signed Ahmed Rosario. He kind of applies here too. Like, these are 4 guys that have had significant roles on MLB teams.
Yeah.
And the Nationals are signing these veterans even when they're probably not going to compete.
Yeah.
But they're signing these veterans to, like, help them at least be more legit.
Yeah.
Like, this is not your 66 and 96 Washington Nationals.
Right, exactly.
This is like your 76 and 86 Washington Nationals.
Right.
But these veterans help you stay afloat, and then you trade them, or at least some of them, maybe Nathaniel Lau, but maybe you trade some of them in the middle of the season and bolster your farm system. Like,
Yeah, totally agree.
this is the bare minimum for teams that aren't really going to win much, but should still be at least trying to
Right.
play competitive baseball and not just be like the Marlins and sign nobody and completely
Right.
throw in the towel. Like, the Nationals aren't going to make the playoffs,
No, probably
but they
not.
have 2 studs.
Yep.
They have okay pitching.
Yeah.
The pitching's probably going to hold them back a little bit, but like, it's not a bad team.
Not
You can kind of
bad.
get excited about it.
like it's not one of those teams where when you're looking at your team's future games, you're like, oh, we got to sweep here.
Yeah.
It's like we got to make sure we win at least 2 of these games. It's one of those where you got to make sure you're a little bit locked in, and I mean, I'm looking at this, their pitching is not great. The bullpen is probably worse than the rotation. Trevor Williams is in the rotation, which is subpar. But
Mets.
Mets legend Trevor Williams. He was pretty good in like 2020 or something like that. Anyways,
That was 5 years ago.
yeah, I know. Wow. So, but I mean, they will be okay.
Yeah.
And the good part for them is they don't have a Juan Soto that they can go out there and trade and get a massive package again.
They did.
They did. They sure
And
did.
they got Abrams and Wood and Gore.
Yeah.
So
Pretty
that
good.
kind of worked out. I mean, you can't trade a guy like that, but you can kind of make a marginal trade.
Mm-hmm. But you've got older veteran pieces that a bunch of playoff teams would like to have if they have a hole at those positions, and you can make do with that. So
I bet all your life as a youth baseball player, on the good teams that you've been on, you've had bad games and you've heard your coach say that you played down to the other team
yeah,
because they were worse than you and you kind of let them hang around for a little bit.
yeah,
I mean, we've heard that a couple times this year already.
sure have.
We heard that when we went by 10 on Saturday. But anyway, you didn't play down to them that day. This is a team that the Phillies or the Mets or the Braves on occasion might play down against because
Yeah.
they don't really care. And it's not going to change anything in like the be-all, end-all standings of the NL East.
Mm-hmm.
But like they might overlook the Nationals, and the Nationals might come with some spunk and take a couple series from these other teams.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, they could be sneaky, especially offensively. Probably
lineup
still
could
going to be a
pop.
sub 80 win team. I'm thinking
agree.
more in like the 72, 75 range, but
I agree.
it's not in the 60s anymore. It's
No.
trending upwards, and it's going to continue to trend upwards if they do the right things with their young guys, and if they go out and sign the right guys in the future, they could have a nice little ball club. And the Nationals, they won a World Series 6 years ago, so they know how to do it. They've been here before.
Yeah,
They've
it's
got a
coming
solid
to
team.
fruition, and it's the same
is.
leadership. It's Dave Martinez is still there, Mike
Yeah.
Rizzo is still there, like, and that team was kind of built off their young core. Of
Yeah.
Rendon was homegrown, Trey Turner, Juan Soto was homegrown, and then
And
They
then they
went-
filled it in with pieces like Howie Kendrick.
yeah, just marginal guys, and then you kind of have that to beef up your homegrown stars, and then they paid for pitching a little bit with Scherzer and Corbin to kind of go with Strasburg. So I think the Nationals see the formula of if this team and this core kind of pops, then they're not going to hesitate in terms of the spending. So they're behaving a little differently than most of the quote-unquote bad teams.
Yeah, totally.
Not so
Alright.
bad, Nationals. Not so bad at all. Anyways,
we'll cover the Braves for like 10 seconds because we didn't really get too deep into them, and then I think we're good to go on to
I
the
think we are
Central.
too.
Because the Central will be like, we'll rattle those off a little bit quicker for multiple reasons.
the Central.
Our favorite.
Yeah,
Anyways.
Braves are cool.
The Braves are. There's a lot to talk about here, I think, because they didn't do too much in the offseason, which is probably to be expected.
Yeah.
They had a hole at shortstop, but they decided to do nothing about it. And otherwise, the team looks the exact
Pretty
same,
similar.
except for Drix and Profar. Their pitching is about the exact same. As of right now, they have Ian Anderson in there, but he will be replaced with Spencer Strider once he comes back from injury, which should be relatively soon.
Ronald Acuna is also starting the season, not quite back yet, I believe.
Yeah, I think Acuna's going to miss. His injury was much later into the year, and it has a longer recovery timeline, so he'll probably miss the first 2 weeks, I'd guess, of the season.
Maybe 2 weeks to a month.
Right.
But when those guys get back, this is the Braves of old.
Yeah.
With a very deep lineup and a pretty sharp rotation in terms of what you got out of Chris Sale and what you got out of Ronaldo Lopez.
Yeah.
It's a little different than Fried and Soroka, but the Braves will kind of always be able to figure out pitching for the most part. And then their lineup has been maybe, barring Acuna's injuries, maybe one of the more consistent ones in the whole league over the past couple of years.
And the thing about the Braves that you have to think about is Albies missed multiple weeks last year. Austin Riley finished the season on the IL. And Acuna obviously tore his ACL. Strider tore his UCL.
I think Michael Harris played. I'm going to pull it up. He didn't play. He only played 110 games.
Yeah, he missed the first half of the season, I'm pretty sure. But this team was banged up the entire year. They never could get a consistent lineup going because of it.
Yeah.
And if all these guys play 130 plus games this year, you're looking at a team that's probably going to win 93, 94 games if they get rolling. Because they, from experience, they roll behind that home crowd at home. When they go, and they get hot. And I will say, to finish that up, offensively, they will be really, really good if they just stay the course and
healthy.
And if they're healthy. Pitching-wise, obviously you had the Cy Young and Chris Sale this year. Reynaldo Lopez last year was awesome. Spencer Schwellenbach was
pretty good.
Really, really, really
very,
good.
Very positive in terms of what they figured they might be able to get out of him. Very positive.
Yeah. I mean, there weren't really super high expectations there, and he soared past them. And then Grant Holmes is okay. He'll pitch decently at the major league level.
They've got A.J. Smith-Shawver and Hurston Waldrep and other guys with fun names like that. Regardless, the Braves minor league pitching, even though they don't have one of the best farm systems, they have a decent crop of young pitchers that they can kind of trot out. Knowing how the Braves have been able to develop their players, there's probably going to be a ample number of those guys that are able to hit and are able to work for them.
Yeah.
Bryce Elder's still down here. There's kind of a bunch of places that they could go. But, I think, like you said, the key is this team being healthy and kind of everyone being in the lineup. Because if they are,
they're just the way they were
just
in
about as good as anyone. Yeah.
So, I mean, the only critique that I have is outside of Rysel and Joe Jimenez is coming back, and then Pierce Johnson and Aaron Bummer, they don't really have any other legit MLB relievers, but that's not going to lose you too many ball games. And we know the Braves are willing to pick up guys at the deadline if they really feel that it's necessary, which honestly I probably expect them to.
Be, yeah.
So yeah, the Braves will be good again. The only I was gonna touch on Reynaldo Lopez too, who his expected numbers are so much different than his actual numbers.
Yeah.
But he found a way to power through that last year. I remember sitting there at the deadline and I was like, this is Bryce Elder 2.0, and he's just going to blow up in the back end of the season. He didn't.
He didn't blow up.
He just kept the course, and honestly, he struck out more guys and had more swing and miss in the second half of the year, and he proved me entirely wrong. So,
yeah.
I totally expect similar success from those top 3 guys. You got anything else?
No, I'm good on the Braves. They're a good team. They're going to be a good team.
Yeah, totally.
All right, moving gears to the Central. The AL Central has 4 teams that are very hodgepodgey, and then they also have the White Sox.
Yeah.
And the White Sox have Bobby Dahlbeck.
Sure, yeah, they do.
All right, let's start with the White Sox. Get it over.
Yeah, let's get it over with.
They were like the worst team ever. Is that actually true that they were the worst team ever?
Yep.
Okay.
Worst
And they're
team
not
ever.
any better this year.
They might be worse, honestly.
All they added was Bobby Dahlbeck.
All they added was Bobby Dahlbeck.
That's not exactly true.
Joey Gallo, Michael A. Taylor, Brandon Drury.
Okay, so they got a couple players.
They got a couple players, but if
traded
this
away
was
Crochet.
if this was 2019, we would be like, whoa, this is actually pretty good. Brandon Drury I'm pretty sure he had a Silver Slugger around
he
those
was
years.
sweet.
And then Joey
Andrew
Gallo.
Benintendi?
Joey Gallo, Benintendi, like, we would be through the roof with this team.
No, this team's really bad.
Yeah,
And
good
their
God.
rotation is really bad.
And they lost Garrett Crochet, who's their best player, and they lost Soroka, who was in the rotation, Chris Flexen, Dominic Leone, Gavin Sheets.
They lost Gavin Sheets. I didn't even realize that he wasn't on here.
Yeah. They lost a lot. They got their top target in Austin Slater, which, round of applause, White Sox, you picked up.
So this
Austin
is the
Slater.
worst team. These guys are worse than the Marlins.
These guys are 100%
Yeah.
worse than the Marlins because they were marginally worse than the Marlins last year, and they got worse.
Yeah.
The only thing that makes them better is Luis Rivera.
Their lineup
off
is
the IL.
low-key better than the Marlins.
Low-key, yeah. But, like, Colson Montgomery's their shortstop, and he hit 230 in AAA last year.
Maybe he just isn't quite ready yet.
Corey Lee.
Corey Lee.
Corey
former
Lee.
Astros farmhand.
Yeah, pretty good MLB The Show card like 2 years ago. Anyways,
Yeah, but if you're Andrew Benintendi is hitting in your 3-hole.
yeah, it's a little bit brutal. The
Yeah.
difference between them and the Marlins is the Marlins are entirely relying on guys who are 27 and younger, and the White Sox have like 2 guys who are like legitimate veterans, or like 3 or 4. But like, other than that, I mean,
The White Sox pitching also just has
oh my
very
God,
little
it's so bad.
substance and very little like in their roster resource. They've got 3 of their 5 starters with less than 1 year of service time,
my
and
God.
then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of their 8 relievers with less than 1 year of service time, and then 2 of the remaining 3 have less than 2 years of service time.
Their bullpen has projected .2 WAR as a conglomerate. Wow. I guess Kai Bush is coming back. Oh, no. He had Tommy John surgery 2 months ago, not a year ago.
Ugh, Kai
Or
Bush.
less than a month ago. Not a year
All
ago.
right, White Sox, I'm done with you.
The White Sox might be worse than they were last year, so keep an eye on that because
Yeah, that's not
my
pretty.
goodness, that is really ugly.
All right, Ryan, pick one of these teams.
Let's go with the Twins.
Let's go with
The Twins are probably the most interesting team to me because I look at their roster and I think, how did this team not win the AL Central last year compared to the other rosters? And obviously the answer is injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Royce Lewis is unfortunately made of glass.
Carlos Correa's
Byron-
been having a hard time staying on the field, too.
Yeah, I think he had a little bit more success with that last
Yeah.
year. I think he was on the field more. But Byron Buxton.
Nope, 86 games.
Oh, all right. I'm wrong. Anyways, Byron Buxton probably
like-
played less than 86 games
He's like
because
OG,
he tends to do that.
notorious made of glass,
Yeah.
Byron Buxton.
Yeah. And then, honestly, Willie Castro was really solid for them last year. So good for Willie Castro. And then
Matt Wallner was solid, too.
Matt Wallender's a good piece. Trevor Larnach is a good piece.
This lineup is not bad.
This lineup is not bad at all.
It gets bad if 2 of the middle guys are out at the same time.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
it's not look as promising.
Now, I will say if it depends on who those middle guys are, because if Royce Lewis and Ryan Jeffers go down, then Christian Vasquez and Jose Miranda come off the bench, and it's relatively the same production. And even Edouard Julien is pretty good. Harrison Bader's still on the bench for them. He's pretty solid, Mets legend.
Yeah.
So they honestly have really good depth, I would say.
Yeah, their position player group is definitely going to compete.
Yeah,
and their rotation is decent.
Before we move on to the pitching, I wanted to say that I think it's important for them to have so much depth because they are such an injury-prone team. So you can rotate these guys. You can give them a lot of rest. And, one day you can start Buxton, and then the next you can start Harrison Bader because he's not that much worse as long as it's keeping Buxton on the field.
Yeah, that's going to be an important thing.
And that's really important.
Pay attention to.
A cool part about this team is they have a lot of first-round draft picks in that lineup. You looking at this? They have one Carlos Correa, 1-2 Byron Buxton, 1-1 Royce Lewis, 1-8 Brooks Lee. Sorry, I got distracted.
No, that's actually pretty impressive.
That's pretty cool.
But their rotation is mostly all guys that they have traded for. They have, other than Bailey Overs right here, who actually had a pretty solid year last year. They have struggled to develop pitching.
Mm-hmm. They sure have.
They have Pablo Lopez and Joe Ryan at the front, two very solid major league starters in terms of trying to make a playoff push.
Yeah,
they're kind of not frontline guys.
Yeah,
but they are good pitchers. Mm-hmm. And then the back end, Simeon Woods Richardson, who they got in the Jose Barrios trade, I want to say.
I think you're right, yeah.
Which was another Twins pitching development success.
Yeah.
One of the few. And then Chris Paddock is going to fill their fifth rotation spot right now. It's really not bad. Their bullpen's really good, which we'll get to in a second. But their rotation is solid, but it's not groundbreaking, especially when you're in a division with the Royals, who really made it happen pitching last year, and the Guardians, who have made it happen pitching-wise every year. It's just kind of playing second or third fiddle to those teams, even though there are some pretty respectable names in this group.
Mm-hmm. And I think this team's rotation played down. I think all three of them, honestly, had down years last year. Pablo Lopez 100% did.
Yeah.
He's 29. Wow. He's a lot younger than I thought he was. I was just about to touch on how he's kind of aging, so that might be why. But
he looks on the older side.
Right, yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking. He kind of pitches like an older veteran guy.
He debuted at 22, so.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Not many pitchers make it up that young.
Yeah, but so with that, they have a pretty young rotation. Chris Paddock is a very similar story where he debuted very early, and he's still 29, so they could do something with him. Obviously, he hasn't had really much major league success, but, for a fifth starter, you can do something with that when they're still not, 33, 34. So I'm not a hater of this rotation.
No, I'm not. I wasn't saying that to be a hater either.
Yeah. But I don't love it. If I'm a Twins fan, I'm looking at this team and I'm saying we could probably win the division, but maybe not the entire American League. But that's fine, honestly. I'd say...
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes.
With the amount of effort they put in to this team this year, if they win the division, that's a massive, massive win. And then Emmanuel Rodriguez is a top prospect who's coming up. And they have Walker Jenkins, who's the number 3 overall prospect.
Walker Jenkins is a dude.
He is a dude, 100%. So
is he from Georgia?
North Carolina.
Oh, okay. Same thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not really. Last point on the Twins, and then we'll get moving here because we don't need to individually analyze all of their relievers. But Griffin Jacks to Yohan Duran is probably the best 8 to 9 in the majors.
Yeah,
and
100%.
Yohan Duran can be volatile at times, but Griffin Jacks was absolutely remarkable last year. 71 innings, 2.03 ERA, 2.6 FWAR as a reliever.
Wow.
So if the Twins are comfortable about anything, it's the back end of their bullpen, and the rest of their bullpen's done solid too, and that's going to help the rotation out a lot.
Like Danny Columby, or however you pronounce his last name, who had like a 2 ERA last year as like their 5th best reliever.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that they can make something happen with good relievers, but have more trouble with starters.
Yeah, it's interesting. But I mean, I have a really positive outlook on the Twins this year if they can stay on the field.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game for them.
I think this could be a very solid, complete group, but they're also just as likely to struggle with health and be dysfunctional and blow up and finish 4th.
Yeah.
But anyway, they got solid big league players. They got a really decent handful of them.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, so we got the White Sox and the Twins. Now where do we want to go?
Let's go to the Tigers.
Let's do it. I am excited about the Tigers this year because of what they were able to do with their roster last year, and then they are probably the only team in this division that made a meaningful step forward, and that I think that is really important. Because they added Torres. They saw what they did after the deadline, and they added Jack Flaherty back. And then their pitching was so good last year that they didn't really need to touch it, especially the bullpen. And now you got Jackson Jobe coming up, who I watched a bullpen of his the other day.
He's a stud.
And it was terrifying because he was sitting 100 with a 3,100 spin curveball.
Oof.
So there's that. So that happened.
The thing that hangs me up on the Tigers is that if you just look at this roster up and down, they should not be good.
Right. Yeah.
The pitching is different because the A.J. Hinch pitching chaos that he worked with at the end of the year in the playoffs was really fun.
It was pretty fun.
Is that type of model of a bunch of guys going multiple innings in each game, other than your ace, sustainable over 162? I don't know. I mean, maybe they'll try it, or maybe, but their rotation also has the potential to just be a big league rotation.
Yeah.
Especially with Jackson Jobe coming up. Skubal and Flaherty are
proven.
Like it's a good 1-2. I mean, Skubal was the best pitcher in the entire world last year, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the lineup just went along for a ride and
got hot.
Found a way to make it work.
Gritty Tigers.
And it's not the sexiest group.
Not at all.
It's a little more comfortable with Gleyber Torres in there. But I feel like I can't bring myself to take this Tigers team this far, even though they kind of stumbled into that success last year.
Yeah.
And I know Tigers fans are saying, oh, we got the best pitcher. We got all these young guys. Look at what we did last year. We're going to the ALCS. I just can't wrap my head around that at this point.
I can't either. The Tigers are the hardest team for me to predict because of that. And because if I were completely ignorant of what happened last year and I just looked at the lineup, I would probably put this team around 500.
Yeah, maybe a little under.
Maybe even that. But with what they were able to do with their pitching last year, if the offense gets hot, which it could because a lot of these guys are really young and they just had their first full MLB season, and now they're really stepping into getting comfortable. Like Colt Keith could get really, really comfortable this year. And, Kerry Carpenter took a huge step forward last year. Will he take another step forward this year? And even guys like Jace Young and, I don't know, they got other guys too. But, if they even take, a small step forward, they're going to repeat success
Right.
from last year. And they honestly probably have a better shot to do better in the playoffs this year because their offense is a little bit better and their pitching is the exact same, and they can roll with that Tarek Skubal, Jack Flaherty, Reese Olson,
solid.
and then bullpen game 4
Right.
or whatever. So, I mean, there's a lot they can work with. They're probably 2 years away because they got Max Clark in high A, Kevin McGonigal in high A, Theron Liranzo in high A.
They got him for Jack Flaherty. He was with the Dodgers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's there.
And Trey Sweeney, who is currently their opening day shortstop.
Yeah. And then they just drafted Bryce Rayner as well. So this next year is probably not their year for them, but if the kids get hot this year, the kids being Cole Keith, Jace Young, Parker Meadows, Riley Green, if they do a lot this year, they have a lot of momentum going into the 2026 season.
Yeah, and the big question I think with the Tigers lineup is, do these young players that tapped into some success regress to kind of just being any old young player?
Yeah.
Or do they as a group kind of blossom into becoming young studs?
Mm-hmm.
Because if they blossom, then we're talking about it like a scary team with a very good future outlook. But if they don't, if they regress, then we're just like, okay, the Tigers aren't very good again. 2024 was cool.
Yeah.
And I think both are as equally likely as happening.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree.
So are the Tigers better than the Twins?
If you look at just lineup,
You kind of can't say yes.
you can't say yes. But when you look at previous success,
Right.
you pretty much have to say yes, especially because the Twins have such a struggle just staying on the field.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you look at the Twins, you can't predict them to win 90 games just because of their lineup. You have to predict them losing more than you think they're going to because of injuries, because their pieces will be off the field. And, we touched on how they have such good depth, but that's only going to take you so far.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, might have to pick up some steam here.
I think we should just table the NL Central to next week.
Okay.
We have time.
Yeah.
We have weeks.
Yep.
Spend this last little time on the Royals and the Guardians because
Yeah.
these are probably the most important teams in this division anyway.
Probably. I want to go to the Guardians.
Let's go to the
because
Guardians.
I am so upset with their offseason.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a fan of this team, and it just makes me sad for their fans. They just watch their team go to the ALCS, and they're like, all right, we had a great year. Let's push it into next year. And they did nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
They even traded away their best defender.
Yeah, they traded away their best defender and their, a very bona fide Major League second baseman, Andres Jimenez. They traded away Josh Naylor, which takes away that brother duo that everybody loved. They traded away Eli Morgan, who was one of their best relievers. And then they got rid of Alex Cobb and Matthew Boyd as well, who were solid pieces for them. And in return, they picked up Carlos Santana, who had a great year last year, but he's 38?
I think he'll be 39 on opening day.
39 on opening day. And then they picked up Luis L. Ortiz, Paul Sewald, and Jacob Junis, who are not household names at all, except for maybe Paul Sewald.
Paul Sewald is, but at this
it's-
point in Paul Sewald's career, he's no longer a closer and is kind of just an extra bullpen guy.
Mm-hmm.
The Guardians, it's kind of like the Tigers, but in a different way, of how you have to think about the past success and what they've been able to do with these rosters.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at this team, I see a group that will be falling short
Yeah.
of other teams in this division, other teams in the American League.
Yeah, I mean, Jose Ramirez is due to regress, one, because of his expected numbers,
Yeah.
and two, because he's starting to age a little bit. He's still going to be
He's
Jose
still going to be
Ramirez.
great.
He's still going to be awesome. He's still going to be the cornerstone of this lineup. And there's Stephen Kwan, who had a great year last year and will probably have just as good of a year this year, I assume, because he was very consistent the entire year. There was no signs of regression.
Best player here.
But then you got Lane Thomas, and you've got a 39-year-old Carlos Santana, and then you're rounding your lineup out with Kyle Manzardo, who doesn't even have a full year in the league yet and was, like, pretty good, but, like, kinda. And then
he can be good. I think Kyle Manzardo is the reason that they were okay with trading Josh Naylor.
Probably.
But then again, you're losing your confirmed middle of the lineup power bat while betting on a kid while also trying to compete.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit sideways.
Yeah,
for the guards.
I'd say it's very sideways. And I mean, I'm looking at this, and it's like when your last four hitters are Will Brennan, Juan Brito, Bo Naylor, and Brian Rocchio, that's not exciting.
No.
It's like
it's not better than the Twins lineup we just looked at, and it's not better than the Tigers lineup we just looked at.
And the Tigers lineup we just looked at was one that we were saying when you look at it, like it's
not great.
So hard to say that it's good. And you're pretty much just banking off the fact that, oh, this team has gotten to the playoffs with lineups like this, so they're just going to do it again. And I can't say that they will this year because this is the worst it's been since they were – on that rebuild upslope.
I feel like, and I'm jumping to the pitching a little bit here, just seeing what they're going to trot out there. I feel like this is the fourth best team in the division.
I totally agree.
They have the best player. Actually, no, they don't, because Bobby Witt's Bobby Witt now. But they have Jose Ramirez, who for the longest time was the best player in this division. Mm-hmm. He's, at this point, the best third baseman in baseball until somebody proves them otherwise, and nobody has done that yet. The rest of their lineup is not formidable.
No.
It's not deep. There's a lot of betting on guys. Their rotation is the same way. It's not deep. There's not a lot of major league experience. Their most experienced starter is Tristan McKenzie, who spent time in the minor leagues last year. Bullpen's really good.
The bullpen's awesome.
The bullpen's awesome. But if you're losing games when it's time for the bullpen to come in, then
it doesn't really matter
the fact
that much.
They're super good is kind of less important.
Yeah. They do have David Fry, who will come off the IL at some point.
He was solid.
They have Sam Henges, I believe.
Sam Henges.
It's pronounced. He's pretty good. He'll come back to the bullpen, and then Bieber and John Means will also both come back to the bullpen, even though both had Tommy John surgery last year. So it might be a while.
Yeah, it's probably not going to, in terms of making a big impact this season, probably not going to do much.
I just can't see this team going into the deadline being a 500 team.
Yeah,
honestly.
I don't think that'll happen either. This is
like really upsetting.
I hate to get so negative on the Guardians, especially after
such an awesome season.
Literally being one of the final four teams standing in all of baseball, and they've had sustained success, but this roster just doesn't look like it's going to do it at all.
Yeah, I can't see it. Unfortunately for them, I can't see it.
Yeah, it's kind of depressing. And this is what Cleveland does: is they roll out these meddling rosters, and then they try and prove us all wrong. But this just has a little bit of a different feel because the pitching has more question marks than most years, and they're very admittedly going backwards, and that major league talent that they have that they traded away, like you said, with Naylor and Jimenez.
Yeah, I think honestly there's somewhat of a question depending on his contract of when does Jose Ramirez get traded?
Right, and we know he loves Cleveland.
Yeah.
But I think he loves Cleveland because they've had the ability to win around him for a long time. And maybe they prove us wrong and this team's still able to win, but the outlook and for this year and the last couple of years of Jose Ramirez's prime, while the Royals are young-ish and getting better, while the Tigers are young and getting better, it doesn't look super special.
No, not really. All right. Well, lastly,
let's hit the Royals.
We have the Royals, who they made the ALDS last year. They had success. They did a lot of plus and a lot of minus. They lost Yuli Gurriel, who still hasn't been signed yet, so they might pick him back up. They lost Tommy Pham, Will Smith, the relief pitcher, obviously, Garrett Hampson, Paul DeYoung, and Brady Singer. When you look at those names, you can't imagine it's too big of a loss, but all these guys were starters for them at the end of the year. But good thing for them, they re-signed Lorenzen and Waka. They added Carlos Esteves, who is a proven bullpen guy.
Yep.
They added Jonathan India, who might take place of Garrett Hampson or Paul DeYoung.
They'll play second base every day.
Yeah, I don't remember where Garrett Hampson was playing because he plays everywhere, and honestly, Paul DeYoung neither. And then they added Joey Weimer, who, good for Joey Weimer. But this team is another one of those teams where it's like,
Yeah, all these teams feel so similar.
they feel so similar in the fact that you look at these guys and it's like, all right, well, you've got Bobby Witt Jr., who is amazing. You have Jonathan India, who is solid. You have Vinny Pasquantino, who is solid. You have Salvador Perez, who has been around forever.
He hit pretty well
But
last year, which
he
was
will-
a surprise to many
Yeah,
people. But he's
he'll still hit the ball well.
turning 35 and
Mm-hmm.
he's getting older. But
Yeah. And then you round it out with Michael Massey, Hunter Renfroe, MJ Melendez, Michael Garcia, and Cal Isbell, who are fine, all of them.
this team is like they have a lineup.
Yeah, this team has more of a lineup
They have
than
a
the
lineup.
Guardians do.
They defend pretty well, which is great because their backbone really is their pitching,
Yeah.
which last year was dominant.
Mm-hmm.
Cole Reagans, I think, is most likely to be repeated.
Yeah.
From his 2024 success. Lugo and Waka were both really good last year, but they're both on the other side of 30.
Yeah.
And, I mean, not to discredit the wonder that was Seth Lugo's 2024 season, but is that going to get repeated by a guy that doesn't have much starting pitching experience and is already this
Right.
old?
Right.
You never know. It could be, and that's kind of the difference. Is if the rotation is as good as it was last year, then I think the Royals have a good enough chance of anybody in this division to win it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were able to put it together, and the rotation over 162 is kind of really what helped them in comparison to the Tigers, who just got hot at the end because their pitching depth was not able to carry them through the season. Instead, they just really tapped into something at the end. So they kind of both made it in different ways.
Yeah.
The more we went through this, I kind of thought that I would have the Royals locked in as my best team in this division, and the more I look at the Royals, I don't think that that's exactly the case.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think that one positive for them is Jack Caglione has a significant chance of like being up there by game 70.
Oh, yeah, that could happen fast.
It could happen really fast. Did you see the ball he hit yesterday?
No.
115, 430.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Dead center. What?
Yeah, that dude can hit.
What? So, yeah, so there's that. They have Blake Mitchell, too, who's honestly doing a similar thing where he's super young and he's just mashing. And I'd say if those two guys get there this season, then you're looking at a whole different team.
Yeah.
Because Blake Mitchell, I would have to assume, is a better defender than Salvador Perez behind the plate.
At this point, yes.
And so you can kind of just shift Salvi to the DH. You can throw India back at second because right now he's listed as the DH. And then you can move around your guys, and then you put Jack Caglione at wherever, honestly, because he's not playing first over Pasquantino.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he can be stuck out in left field or something like that.
I feel like, yeah.
And
He's pretty athletic.
yeah, and then you bring in two legit bats, and you're like, all right, this team's really got some momentum.
Right.
If these guys can get here before the deadline, and they can get hot before the playoffs, this team could be very, very, very scary.
Right, but all of these central teams that we're talking about could also just start out super flat
Right.
and be very
Yeah,
underwhelming.
I totally agree.
I think in terms of safe pick, you kind of look at the Twins.
Mm-hmm.
I think in terms of upside, you kind of look at the Tigers.
Yeah.
I think the past success of the Royals and the Guardians after both playing the Yankees in playoff series were cool, but the outlook of those teams aren't as good as their 2024 seasons indicated. I don't know. This is going to be very hodgepodgey, and maybe it all works itself out by June, or maybe they're all within 4 or 5 games of each other by June.
Yep.
That could be really exciting to figure out.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the AL Central. Unfortunately, we didn't get to the NL Central today, but we will touch on that next
week.
Monday.
Yes.
And it'll be a good time.
And
we will see you guys then.
That's the AL Central. We try and make sense of it.
We do try and make sense of it. And hopefully we did.
Yeah, no, we didn't.
Yep. All right.
All right. Peace.